Welcome to the Call Your Shot podcast, your weekly sports recap podcast where we break down the hottest headlines, dissect the latest injuries, and serve up our own hard-hitting analysis of the past week in sports. But that's not all. We're not just here to talk about the past, we're here to predict the future as well. On the Call Your Shot podcast, we boldly predict the outcomes of the upcoming week's games.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening. This is the Call Your Shot podcast with your hosts, Alix, Harris, and Drew Moore. Well, we're finally here, finally to playoffs. Had a few games this last weekend that had a lot of playoff inclination, and unfortunately for me and you, Drew, even though both of our teams got a win, that resulted in neither of us making the playoffs because the Saints needed a win. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I had hope slightly for Justin Fields and the Bears. They looked like they were hanging in there against the Packers, but eventually they pulled away. So we finished 8th and y'all finished 9th. So good job on us. Moral victories.
See, moral victories do nothing for me.
Okay.
I either want to.
Y'all had more expectations than we did. I'm just saying.
That is true. Because you look at their schedule, the easiest one in the league, and a lot of people. I mean, their win total, for God's sakes, was at 10.5 at some books and stuff, and it was a miracle that they even won as many games as they did this year. Alvin Kamara wasn't even playing in the last game, but they put up 41 points, so maybe he was the problem the whole season. Not actually,
but y'all put up 48 points.
Oh, my bad. Missed a touchdown.
That was the problem. That was what Arthur Smith was mad about because y'all did that late game touchdown, no sportsmanship, and he basically damn near cussed out y'all coach in the post game handshakes. But they were like, that was a team decision because apparently your guys' head coach said, don't score. But then I guess Jameis was saying it was a team decision and they wanted to get Jamal Williams his only touchdown this season because he had 17 last year. I'm like, okay, yeah, it was a team decision to y'all are just dicks. I'm sorry.
Okay, whatever. I mean, it's just like I forgot what coach said it, but they're basically saying, if you're mad about them running up the score on you, play defense and stop them from scoring. Like, it's not on them. That's not their fault. Like,
I agree.
If you want the massacre to stop the massacre yourself.
Yep. So, as we mentioned, the Seahawks ended up beating the Cardinals barely. The Saints ended up mollywhopping who did you guys end up playing? The Falcons. But the Bucks ended up winning. So 9-0 on the Panthers. I'll mind you, that's kind of a disgusting game. But, Baker's return back to the Panthers, the team that ended up cutting him, kind of fitting that he secures the division, beating his old team. And then, as we mentioned, the Packers did end up beating the Bears. So they are the 7th spot in the playoffs. So any thoughts on anything coming out of the NFC before we jump into the AFC when it comes to the playoffs?
No, nothing really stands out right now. There's some pretty gross lines, especially for that Eagles game where they're 2.5 point favorites on the road against your boy Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. And so it's gross because why is it only 2.5? Like, sure, if you take home field advantage into consideration, that put them at a 5.5 point favorites on neutral against Baker Mayfield. But at the same time, you have the Eagles coming in super banged up. You have AJ Brown banged up with his knees. His knees have always been a problem, and now he avoided ligament damage, which is good, but still coming in with an injury. You have Devonta Smith coming in with an injury as well. Jalen Hurts with his finger. He avoided breaking his finger, but still, it's this team that desperately needed a bye or a break, but obviously they didn't get that because my Cowboys ended up winning the division, so they didn't get that break. So
yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, talk about teams like limping into the playoffs. I think like the Eagles like army crawled like zombies into the playoffs, like 1-5 to finish the season. As you mentioned, injuries to all of their star players. And now you're going against the Bucks, who I feel if the Eagles were very healthy and actually had things rolling, they would be a huge favorite against them. But now it is this small 2.5. And I still expect them to win. But at this point, I wouldn't even be surprised. Like, honestly, with everything on the line, obviously they would probably be watching the Cowboys game from last night too to kind of see what it was looking like between them and the Commanders. But the Eagles got destroyed by the Giants. Couldn't stop Saquon. Couldn't stop the run. Had Tyrod Taylor passing all over them. I'm like, bro, like it just looks
Exactly.
bad. So now you have Baker Mayfield who at times has been a very solid and elite passer at times with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Now you have Kate Otten at tight end, and then you have Rashad White, who I don't know why you hate, but has been a very solid back this year, Drew. So it is an interesting matchup, but I still expect the Eagles to win, but then I expect them to lose to the 49ers in the divisional.
I mean, they're not even gonna make it. I don't even think they're gonna make it that far, to be honest.
You think the Bucks are going to win?
I mean, I do
Yeah,
like
I
it.
need to hear the call right now. I want to hear it right now.
I'm not gonna call it right now because I gotta see the injury report. I'm not gonna
Injury. Everybody
like.
on the Eagles is hurt.
Well,
That's
yeah,
your
but
injury
I
report.
mean, like if Smith doesn't go and if Brown doesn't go either, like that makes a big difference. Like who are you gonna be throwing it to out there? Like
Got it.
Zacchaeus? No, like come on. And so yeah, I got to see the injury report. I'm not sure what's going on with Baker either. Baker was kind of limping here and there in the game, and he had his ankle injury the game before. So Baker's a warrior. He's an animal out there. He's gonna play. He's gonna play his heart out, and he's got his incentives. Made the playoffs, so that's good for him as well. But I got to see more. I got to check the injury reports. I got to see what the coaches are talking about and everything too. But right now, as it stands, the bet splits. It's some modest public support on the Eagles right now at 59%, but it's not like a super heavily bet or super public play, so I might just stay away. But I do lean more towards the Buccaneers for this game. So
Fair enough. And this is kind of what we talked about last week. Like Baker now got his incentives. He made the playoffs. So I feel like at this point, you either have to re-sign him to a short-term deal, or I mean, I really don't think they want to franchise tag Baker for a top 5 salary. But I feel like you have to keep him at this point. I think he's proven enough. Maybe just slightly above what he needed to do, but he met his expectations, I feel like, or at least exceeded them slightly.
mm-hmm.
Additionally, in the NFC, we do have the Cowboys playing the Packers for the wild card spot, as they were the number 2 versus the number 7, and we have the Rams facing the Lions. Do you have a pick in any of those games? I feel like if all of the games in the NFC, I'd be most confident in the Cowboys over the Packers. If I had to choose one, the Lions.
Yeah.
Hey, Carson Wentz was Carson Wentz, man. I told you, the GOAT.
Stop.
You know what I'm saying? And let me beat the 49ers by myself, albeit, their second team. But they had some starters on defense. So, you know what I'm saying? Carson Wentz doing Carson Wentz things.
Yeah. Whatever. Going back to that Cowboys game, I mean, I can only lean towards the Cowboys in this situation. But even with that, it's like I don't trust McCarthy as far as I can throw him. So I don't want to be in that situation to where,
Bench game, question mark. There you
well,
go.
yeah, but at the same time, the Cowboys have also been not playing the best competition coming in. They, other than obviously when they played
Lions?
against the Gauntlet, but before that, or right after that, they played against Washington, and then before that, they played against the lowly Seahawks. We see how well that they how well they finished, and then so I mean, I don't know. And on top of that too, yeah, their defense has been putting up some good numbers, but their offense hasn't really been putting up that much production. You're telling me that they only put up 19 against Detroit and 22 against Miami when you have Green Bay going in and putting up 33 29 against Detroit. Like why? Like you're telling me that they have a better offense than than the Cowboys? Like
I don't think it's as simple as that.
well, I mean, but I'm just saying though, like in terms of being able to put up or being able to keep the offense going and things of that nature, I haven't really seen it against teams that have a good defense. Now, that being said, I'm not saying that the Packers have a good defense either because they also, they gave up 33 points to Nick Mullins, and then they gave up 30 points to, or sorry, they gave up 10 points to Nick Mullins, but they gave up 30 points to uh, um, Bryce Young. So I
Hmm.
mean, and their defense has been trending in the wrong direction. Like I said, I can only lean the direction of the Cowboys, but this number at 7.5 is kind of steep, and you always want to lay the 7.5 as opposed to take the 7.5 because the book is trying to tell you, hey, this is a good number right here for the Packers. Like, take the hook, um, and you don't want to be on that side. I just
Yeah.
don't trust McCarthy as far as I can throw him, like I said, and I might just stay away.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys are going to win. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, and I wouldn't take the 7.5. I
Mm-hmm.
would do like an alternative split. But like I said, like if there was just a game purely to win out of the NFC, I would choose the Cowboys. I think that they have proven at times, and I like you said, I don't think the Green Bay Packers are some phenomenal defense or anything like that that's going to stop the Cowboys offense. And I think the Cowboys offense will be able to, or defense will be able to slow down Jordan Love, who has looked good. And I'll say that if Aaron Jones is actually fully healthy, which it looked like he was against the Bears, I think that he adds an additional component for them. Now they can kind
Mm-hmm.
of do the two-headed monster, and he can have more of a lightning role for them, some more electricity along with their young receivers. So if they are able to execute in that way, then it could be a competitive game. But overall, I really think the Cowboys are going to end up pulling away in this game. Lions
Mm-hmm.
Rams, I think, is actually a really interesting game. Um, I really think so.
Yeah. Um, that is it is an interesting game in the sense that, nobody can scheme up a defense better for Jared Goff than Sean McVay can.
Mm-hmm.
And so going into this game, you have that angle, but then you also have the other angle where, you know, um, you have the dynamic offense of the Detroit Lions, and it's not the same Jared Goff. At least I don't think it is, uh, because he's pushing the ball down the field. He's being more aggressive. He's not being kind of in that hold your hand position from Sean McVay, where he's just like making the throws super easy and scheming up these elaborate wide receiver routes. So that way, no matter where he throws the ball, there's always going to be at least a couple options for him that are just basically given to him on the platter. That being said, the the Rams haven't really played the best competition coming in to this game. Same thing with the Lions. So I'm not really sure what to expect from both defenses. Their offenses are obviously, high caliber offenses on both ends. But on the defensive end, like for example, the Rams, they played against San Francisco. Oh yeah, it's a really good team. Well, they didn't play anybody. So played all their backups and Sam Darnold. And we know how good Sam Darnold is.
Hey, they
And they only
played
won by
Carson
one.
Wentz, bro.
So fair enough, fair enough. But and that was another thing too, is that the depth on that team isn't necessarily the best either. So if anybody ever goes down, then well, you saw Carson Wentz play. So and then before that, they played against the Giants. They gave up 25 points and they almost lost the game to the Giants at full strength. So, and then you go against the Saints. Yeah, sure. The Saints are trash. Oh, they only won by 8. That's weird. Washington only won by 8. They lost to Baltimore. Then play against Cleveland. They beat Cleveland, but Cleveland was going through some trials and tribulations at that point in time, December 3rd. And so you flip out onto the other side and you see Detroit, who's supposed to be having this great defense in the beginning of the season, then it kind of really tapered off towards the end. And they gave up 30 points to Nick Mullins. Or sorry, I keep on saying 30 points to Nick Mullins, man. I don't know what it is. Maybe he's just in the back of my head as like Brett Favre or something. Anyways, um, they give up 24 points to Nick Mullins, and then they allowed Dallas to move the ball up and down as they pleased, and also they allowed Justin Fields to move the ball as well. So I just don't. I I don't know. It's a scary proposition for sure, because I don't want to back either of these teams. If I had to choose one, I would say that I would go with the Lions, but that's super chalky, and I don't like how much respect uh, that the Rams are getting in this position. I was hoping that they would be a little bit more of an underdog than they are at 3.5 right now. So yeah, I just it's another gross game. And just to preface this too, all the games this week, um, my model has zero plays for me because of how like spot on the lines are. Like they're right in line
Will you
with
listen?
what I would
Is the
what I
question.
would have. Well, I mean, I'll probably put down like one or two,
Yeah,
just
two little something, something.
based on like market dynamics and stuff, as opposed to uh like what I have in terms of an a model edge, so to speak. So
Yeah, I don't know who to take in this game either. It was closer than I thought, but then I kind of looked more into it, and albeit that the Rams did not play the greatest competition, but they finished the season on a 7-1 record, and their only loss was against the Ravens, who they lost to in overtime. So they have shown that they can hang with good teams. The Lions, like I keep wanting to be like, okay, this is the year. I think that they can go far, and I do think that they're a good team. They're going to be a good team for years to come. I just don't know if they're completely ready. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions won this game. If I had to choose one, I would choose the Lions. I think that they're both kind of similar in their own regards. As you mentioned, they're both very high-powered offenses with decent defenses and more star players individually, I guess you could say, when it comes to Aaron Donald or when it comes to Aiden Hutchinson. But ultimately, I do think that the Lions probably would be my pick in this game.
mhm.
Oh, it's
See,
just,
that's the thing though. Like this is what scares me. So like we're talking about the Lions, this Lions that, and like we're both on the probably going to be on the side of the Lions.
yeah,
However, it's the defense again, and when it comes to scheming up plans for a player that you're familiar with, like look no further than Sean McVay.
yeah,
But you go on onto the side of what the Lions defense has done over the past 8 weeks since week 8. They're 28th in dropback EPA per play, and from what I've seen, Puka Nakua ain't slowing down. Cooper Cup ain't slowing down, and Matthew Padford, as average as
and
he
Kyron
is,
Williams. I mean, he don't, yeah.
yeah, like so, and so I mean, even so, I said the last 8 weeks, right? And so
Mhm.
you look at who they've played over the last 8 weeks, and it's not anything to run home about in terms of, oh, they were playing against the Josh Allens, the Tuas and stuff like that. No, they played against Minnesota twice. They played against Dallas. Okay, you got Dak, but then they also played against Denver. They played against Chicago. They played against New Orleans. They played against
Mm.
Green Bay, Chicago, and like this. I don't know, man. they they scare the hell out of me,
They're like
and I
cruising right at expectation every single time. Other than the game against the Chiefs, where again they were playing without Travis Kelce or Chris Jones. Every test it seems like the Lions have had when they're like, okay, they're actually have the potential to be an elite team. Whether it be early against the Seahawks, they lose that game. Whether it be against the Baltimore Ravens, once they get it going, they lose that game. Whether it be the Cowboys, where it had a lot of inclination on possibly getting the second seed, they lose that game, even though they probably should have won
mm,
that game. I don't care what I don't care what the call was. Uh,
yeah,
but every single test that the Lions have had this season, when it comes to be like, okay, we think you're a good team. Now you have the opportunity to establish yourself as an elite team. They've lost every single one of
mm-hmm,
those games. So now coming in a game against the Lions, who, albeit both of them have playoff experience, especially with Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford, I just think that oh man, it's tough. I said I want to go Lions, but again, I would not be surprised at all if the Rams at least cover, if not win. Like I wouldn't be surprised at all.
yeah. And I mean, right now, looking at the bet splits, 70% of the bets are on the Rams right now, and only 30% are on the Lions. Then the line has not moved at all, which is a classic line freeze,
Yeah,
which means that basically, even though there's only 30% on the Lions, that's heavy professional support on that side, not allowing the line to move. So that'd be the side that I'd be leaning towards. I don't like it, and I probably won't do anything about it, but that's that is what it is right now. So
fair enough. Moving on to the AFC, we had a Saturday night game with the Texans and the Colts, as we had talked about last week, and the Texans did end up pulling out the win. So CJ Stroud in his first season, probably going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. Leads the Texans to the playoffs, and the Colts just miss it with Gardner Minshew. So, any thoughts on that game? And do you have any expectations for the Texans going forward as they play the Browns, which is an opportunity for them to go to the divisional and face the vaunted Ravens?
yep. So this one is scary as well because you have on one side the angle of, okay, you have a rookie quarterback, and we know how players fare in their first postseason game, especially with rookies. It doesn't really usually end well, and you usually want to fade those players,
Against an elite
and
defense.
especially, yep. And then you also have a rookie head coach as well. So all those factors, but then you're like, okay, this team is different. Like it's CJ Stroud, it's Ryan's, like, and you're looking at this team and you're like, gross. Stop it. Knock that
Okay.
off. That's
I'm
gross.
doing the CJ. I'm
Don't
doing
do
the
that
CJ.
here.
Yep.
Yep. Anyways, so we have that situation. And you look at their offense and you're like, okay, like they've been dominant. They've been able to move the ball whenever they have CJ Stroud healthy. However, the teams that they've been playing against, again, this always just goes back to matchups and stuff. They
Hey.
they played against they played against bottom tier defenses um, for the majority of the second half of the season, other than when they played against the Cleveland Browns and they lost that game 36 to
Decisively.
22. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. So I mean, they played against the Colts, the Titans twice, and then they played against the Jets when they basically gave up on the team because they, um, and then they played against Denver, Jacksonville, and the Cardinals. And then also Cincinnati, if we can go a little further. Like all those teams have bottom tier defenses other than the Jets and the Browns, and they lost both of those games against the Jets and the Browns decisively, as you would say. And so you go into this game, yeah, it's a home game, that's nice, but at the same time, it's also against the Browns, who have one of the best, actually the best defense in the league, especially in terms of EPA per play and EPA per dropback as well. And so it's a situation where I don't want to be on the super chalky public side with the Browns, as they are collecting 74% of the bets right now at the line where it's at 2.5. I don't want to be on that side, but
Mhm.
I cannot make a case for the Texans right now, even though they do look like the better overall team, I'll say. But I just, yeah.
Yeah, I can't really make a case for the Texans either at this point. I do love CJ Stroud, and I think that their offense has the ability to be very high powered at times with Nico Collins, with Schultz, and then Singletary gives them a little bit of a spark every once in a while, and then CJ Stroud's just able to make throws. If they had Tank Dell still healthy, then I think it would possibly be a
Mm-hmm.
different story because they would just have more options. But, I think D'Amico Ryans has like a case to get some votes for coach of the year. I don't think he's going to get it, but I think that you kind of have to give him his respect in his first season as the Texans head coach. It's just one of those weird things. The Texans offense versus the Cleveland Browns defense, and I would have to say the Cleveland Browns defense is probably more consistent. And then, as we mentioned a couple weeks ago, Joe Flacco, as soon as he enters the playoffs, he kind of turns into a different person. So, and he has an opportunity to win this game and then face his former team, Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, and he kind of mentored Lamar when he was kind of in his rookie season. So, yeah, I think that
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stay away from this. This is the game that I'm staying away from. I have no idea. I'm going to root for the Texans just because I like CJ Stroud, but I don't know which way to lean in this game at all either. And side note, like I kind of just I don't feel bad, but like the Jaguars really just fell apart, and a team that was 8-3 and was confirmed control of this division over the Texans and had the chance to be at a top 3 or 4 seed within the AFC goes 3-6 to close out their last 9 games and basically get knocked out of the playoffs in the final game. And I'm like, it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And then I saw like clips back when they were 8-3 about how their social media teams and the organization was like doing like pre-sale for postseason tickets. Like, oh, if you buy your tickets now and stuff like that, all that just to basically get knocked out is it's tough. It's tough for them. So
Yeah. And the thing that's dumb too is I would have been on the Tech or on the Titans, but at the same time, like last week, but the line dropped so much, like it went all the way up to, I think it was up at like 5.5 or 6 or so,
yeah, I think I saw the
and I
6.
missed. Yeah, and I missed that opportunity, and then the line crashed the day before, or well, on Saturday going into Sunday, and then it came all the way down to 3.5, and I was like, okay, that's a little bit too much of an over adjustment to the lines. Like I'm just gonna take Jacksonville money line, and that idiot, unbelievable, kicking myself for that one. But moving on. Next up, we have let me rephrase that. Next up, we have my Buffalo Bills taking on the
Hey, they were
Pittsburgh
my pick this week too.
taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The line is sitting at 10 right now, as the Bills are the home favorite. Going in this matchup, we have a pretty gross bet split with 59% of the bets on the Steelers and only 41% of the
That's a lot
bets
of points.
on. I mean,
10.5 in a
it
playoff game
is.
is a lot of points against Mike
It
Tomlin and
is.
his defense. I'm just saying.
Okay, but also, you're going to trust Mason Rudolph to
I'm
keep it within that
I'm
number?
I'm just saying that the Bills, as we saw last night, ended up winning the game, but Josh Allen threw 2 first half picks, has the ability to be volatile, going up and down. So I'm just saying that Mike Tomlin
Mm,
in a team where they've kind of found their identity, obviously going to be play defense, going to be run the ball. They've Najee Harris as your boy has kind of established himself a lot better this season. One of the first running backs in history to start a season or his career with 3,000-yard seasons. But I mean, if they can control the game, control the pace, like I wouldn't be surprised if it's a kind of a ugly, low scoring game. So if you're going to give me 10.5, like I ain't going to complain.
I didn't say half. I said 10.
Oh, okay. I thought you said 10.5. Well, if you're going to
You
give me
get
10
no
and a
look.
half, hey, I wouldn't be surprised by Friday, come Friday, maybe the Steelers have, a couple of little injury questionables and they goes to 10.5.
Oh my God. I guess.
Trap game. I'm
But,
just playing.
okay. But, okay, we talk about Pittsburgh and this vaunted defense and stuff, and oh man, they're rough and tough.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure, but they're also 16th in dropbacks per EPA per play, and also, yeah, sure, they're 11th in EPA per play over the past 8 weeks. But again, I cannot reiterate it enough. It's even though the stats say you one thing, you got to look at how they're getting those stats and also who they are playing when it comes to these stats. So, yeah, they played against Baltimore. Okay, who'd they play against? Nobody. they rested everybody. And they played against that trash team up north in Seattle, and they they made light work out of them. made light work out of them. They played against the Bengals, but that was when Jamar Chase was hurt, so it was basically just Jake Browning against the world, and
T.
then
Higgins.
yeah, and T. Higgins barely, because he was coming back from injury during in
Mm-hmm.
that game. You have the Colts. Oh, actually, they lost to the Colts. Okay, that's weird. Okay, then they played against the Patriots. Oh wait, they lost to the Patriots. Okay, well then they played against the Cardinals. They probably beat the Cardinals. Oh, they lost to the Cardinals. Like, so sure, they're coming in on a 3-game win streak or whatever, but they played against a reeling Seattle team. They played against
Say
Jake
whatever.
Browning. played against Jake Browning against the world, and he had no help. And the offensive line for Cincinnati was also banged up in that game too. So he basically had no time to do anything. And then when you have no time to pass, and then you also don't have your number one receiver, it's just a bad combo. And then you played against Baltimore, who was playing nobody. So I think that they are pretty fraudulent coming in. But I just it's so frustrating to see a team only win on like just like a 70-yard touchdown that like breakdown like because each time that I bet against them this year, that is exactly how I end up losing it, and that's
Oh,
like the
George
deciding
Pickens,
factor in the game.
70-yard
It
slant.
literally is. It's so dumb. Like I'm like, can you win on like an actual like, oh, they kicked a field
They
goal to win the
do.
game, or like,
They do. They
no
win
they
these
don't. No,
disgusting games. They
they
get one
they
breakaway play, but then they
but
have
then
to
that's
bunker
the
down
problem. Like
and
why
play
can't they just
defense
get like have
because
like
they're
a
starting Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph. That's why. Like
I
they
you know what I want? I want a 10-minute drive where they're, running the ball or they're,
Yeah,
doing like a 5-yard slant pass that doesn't go
yeah.
75 yards. It
They have a
goes
lot of
maybe
drives
10
like that. They
yards or
just
so.
end up in either long field goals or punts.
But I want them to only do that, and that's how I want
Well,
them
that's
to
not
get their
gonna happen.
touchdowns. I want them to work
No.
for it, all right? I don't want them to just
Uh-uh.
be like,
You just want
"Oh, they
Najee to
just
run for 2.5 yards every for
hey,
a
man,
12 yard, 12-minute drive.
that's what he does best."
Yeah. I mean,
But
obviously the Bills are the heavy favorite in this game, and I would choose the Bills. Obviously, I wouldn't do it with the points, but that's a lot of points. I'm just saying. But the Bills 6-1
I
coming
don't
into
think
this
it's enough.
game. They're 5-0 over the last 5 weeks, and like we've talked about over the past few weeks, like this is kind of the type of team that's scary. And we thought they were going to come in as like, a fourth or fifth, or as like a fifth or a sixth seed. And they end up, squeaking out the number 2 seed all of a sudden. So they are very dangerous. They're going to have home field advantage up until if they have to face Baltimore. And they've shown that they can beat elite teams. They had the overtime thriller against the Eagles, but then they went on to beat the Chiefs, the Cowboys, and the Dolphins to close out the season. So, your boy Josh Allen, I think, has been playing a little bit more controlled, albeit again throw 2 first half picks. And I think that the Steelers have the ability to potentially turn them over. They have fast linebackers and then they have TJ Watt, so I think they would be able to contain him a little bit. And if they're able to do that, and again if they're able to establish the run, as we talked about a couple weeks ago, this is the type of game where it can be uglier than you expect. And again, I fully expect the Bills to win this game, but I just think it may be a little closer than people are expecting. Is all I'm saying.
See, I think people give too much, not too much, because it's well deserved credit to Mike Tomlin and Tomlin as a
Oh,
dog
you
and
hate
this, that, and the other. I don't, I'm not hating on my brother,
Sounds like
you
it.
know.
You're
I
just like,
support him.
how are you gonna win on all these 70-yard
Well, yeah,
touchdown plays and stuff
like
like that?
that's
Look
BS.
at who he
That's
is, who he has at quarterback.
well, yeah, but I'm saying like it's literally their victories not on like actual play calls or like, oh, they schemed out this play perfectly. It's on defensive breakdowns or like, oh, the dude slipped in the secondary and then they went
Offensively, yeah.
into the end zone.
What
Like
about
it's
defense?
defensively like they're okay.
They're
They're
keeping
oh
these
they're
teams from scoring a lot and blowing them out, because if you blow out the Steelers, they're not keeping up with you. So I don't know what you want him to do.
I just I'm not a believer. All right. I I just they TJ Watt, he's banged up too, and
Mm,
I I think if he's not 100%, I mean, granted, his 40% is probably about, you know, 10% better than everybody else in the league still. So, but at the same time, you when it comes to playoff matchups, you look at it this way: who is the quarterback on each team? Okay, Josh Allen, Mason Rudolph.
okay.
I mean, they,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
you look at the coaches from there. Okay, I'd probably give the edge to Tomlin a little bit, but then
A little
you look
bit.
on both sides. I mean, yeah, a little bit. I don't think that he's
Think
like
Sean
sure,
McDermott's the
never had
guy.
like a I don't think he's the guy, but I think he's done a formidable job and maybe he's had, better players, but also Tomlin hasn't really shown that he's able to um like build or grow an offense as opposed to the Bills. They've created an offense and built it from the ground up as opposed to the Steelers. They kind of just like, okay, we have this really good quarterback now in Big Ben. Oh shit, now he's gone. Now what?
And now the Bills have Big Ben. More mobile
Pretty
Big Ben.
much. Pretty much. Um, but I mean, I don't know. I just
I think that this
it's gross.
is great because like I'm hinting at it as if I'm gonna choose the Steelers. But I'm not choosing the Steelers. I'm just like you talked about it too. You said like you want to go back to like who has the better QB and then coach and all that kind of stuff. What about the 2019 Ravens versus the Tennessee Titans? You're gonna
Oh
say
my god.
that Ryan Tannehill's
Okay,
better than Lamar Jackson or anything like that. And I ain't saying
but they also had a
nowhere.
good
I ain't
defense
saying
though.
Najee Harris is Derek, huh?
They had a lot better of a defense than what Pittsburgh has.
I'm not gonna say the Titans had like this phenomenal historic defense compared to the Steelers, who have a good defense this year too.
I think that the Steelers are extremely average on defense this year.
Average.
Average.
So a team
You go
that
with the stats,
has
I mean.
no. I'm just saying a team that has a high school offense because of their quarterback is 10-7 in the AFC, in the division that had the most wins in the league.
Mm-hmm. Average.
What you want? So yeah,
I'm just like, I don't like the like. I think that a lot of their stats are fraudulent, to be honest.
rankings wise,
Like,
they are like around like top 10, but like 9 or 10, like not like top 5 or anything like that, but defensive ratings.
let me
But
just
if you want to
pull
go
this
like
up
on
here.
specific individual stats or anything like that, then
Okay,
but
that's
yeah,
some baby back bullshit. They're trying to say
exactly.
the Steelers are seventh on defense. That's
That's what I
cap.
said. The top 10, they're a
First of
top 10
all,
defense.
see, I just don't like when I watch them play. I don't see a top 10 defense. I see teams slinging the ball all over the place against them, and then them, maybe getting one or two interceptions, and it's just at the perfect time, or like TJ Watt like is just getting a sack, but it's only his one sack that he gets is at the end of the game, like when they need it the most or whatever. And so it's like
Called
the
bend but
whole
don't
game.
break.
Yeah, I guess, but like,
We don't have
but
to spend
I
this much
mean,
more time on the Steelers.
it's
We both
just
expect the Bills to win, and shout out to
you're
Mike
just making
Tomlin
me
for being
mad.
10-7 and getting this far. Moving on. So on the other end of the spectrum between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins, since the Dolphins ended up losing, they get the nice reward of having to play the Chiefs at Arrowhead in the first round, which is very unfortunate for them. Jalen Waddles was out this game. He's still hurt. Tyreek Hill ended up kind of getting banged up in this game. So now they have to go against Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, who both sat this week. So they get some rest, and hopefully the Chiefs are able to get things back together, as it has not looked that great for them either. So any thoughts on this game? Do you have any expectations for the Dolphins potentially pulling off an upset? Because they have the offense to
One
do it. It's just whether or not it's clicking.
one quick side note, going back to the Steelers real quick,
Oh my God.
and and Mason Rudolph. I think this is hilarious. So right now, Mason Rudolph has, when he's not pressured and he has a clean pocket to throw, he has a QB rating of 136.6, which is damn near a perfect passer rating. So yeah, interesting. Anyways, moving on to the game at hand.
Yeah,
um,
okay, moving on. Yeah. The Chiefs are only 3.5
uh,
point favorites, though, at home. So it's almost a pick
yep,
'em.
Chiefs 3.5 point favorites. There's talks by Andy Reid hanging it up, but
Yeah, after I get the
I,
Super Bowl.
okay. I just think that you know the the Dolphins have been on the decline, and we've seen that they're not able to play against winning teams, even
And
though they're able
compete.
to. Yeah, and even though they were able to edge out the Kansas City Chiefs last time they played them in Kansas City, as a basically a pick 'em, 1 point underdog. But at the same time, they're coming with all these injuries. And back then, when they played them, they had a full slew of healthy players and
They lost.
ready to go. Oh
The
yeah,
Chiefs beat the
my,
Dolphins in
my eyes,
Jersey.
my eyes are deceiving me here.
Yeah,
But yeah, regardless, actually, that just proves my point even more. Not able to play
exactly.
against elite competition, and again, with all the injuries that they have coming in, Van Ginkel's banged up, Waddle's banged up, Chubb's banged up, Mostert's banged up, offensive line is banged up. So I I want to be a believer, but I
Why?
just can't get behind because I mean you see this
You're just tired of the Chiefs?
elite offense. Well, not necessarily that, but you see this elite offense and you see how well they're able to perform, but then they play against like an actual team, and then and then they're not able to do anything. But I don't know. It looks like poetry in motion every time you watch one of their plays. This is a perfect example. I want the Steelers. Well, obviously this is not going to happen. This is a terrible
Oh boy.
you know crossover here. But I want the
Let's hear
Steelers
it.
to be able to move the ball as well as the Dolphins are, because
What?
they're hear me out. Hear me
Them,
out. I know this
give
sounds.
them four,
I
four,
know.
three
I
players.
know. I know. I know. I know. But I mean, not necessarily in terms of that, but I mean in terms of like, okay, they're getting, like a few yards here, a few yards there, and they'll run the ball or whatever, as opposed to just just route that back to pass, whatever. That is an actual offense. That is a sign of
Yeah.
a professional offense, not a high school offense that they've been running out there. Canada, I don't think was necessarily the problem when they fired him. Sure, it wasn't the best when he was scheming up plays for Pickens to only be or Pickett to only be throwing to the boundary, which is like the hardest throw that you can make as a quarterback. But at the same time, like you aren't scheming up routes and schemes to allow your wide receivers to get open, as opposed to Tua, where no matter which direction he turns, because he's all based on anticipation and timing, he always has at least somebody that's going to be open, or he always knows, okay, if I don't go here, I got this guy over here, bang bang, and they're always in that spot. When you watch the Steelers play, it's not. I don't see that, and that's why I think that a lot of their stats are fraudulent on the offensive end. We ain't got to go back down that road, but I just don't.
You
Yeah.
give
Anyways,
you have the biggest cheat code in the league in Tyreek Hill, who is
yeah.
probably going to finish, unfortunately, second in offensive player of the year next to Christian McCaffrey. Then you
Mhm.
have his number two, who just runs a 4.3,
I know. I
Jalen
get it.
Waddle when
I get it.
healthy.
I get it.
And
I'm not
then
saying
because
that
of that,
they.
you're
I'm
able to
saying
scheme up these runs to your running backs, Mostert or
I
HN,
hear
who,
you.
oh yeah, they run
I hear
4.3 as
you.
well.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
hear
saying,
you.
like,
I hear you. But I'm not talking about in terms of like the players that they have, and obviously that makes a big difference because if you're not able to have those players, then you can't really run that kind of offense. But at the same time, I'm saying what it looks like when you have an elite offense,
mhm.
and the Steelers are far from that, and they're damn near, I don't want to say bottom tier, but like
Of everybody in the
I don't
playoffs, they
think
have the
that
worst
they're.
offense. So
Yeah, exactly. Um, Going back to the Dolphins, um, the yeah, they're super banged up, and the Chiefs, I
they're
they're
getting a lot
they're
of
the hardest
respect,
team.
though. That's kind of crazy, though.
Exactly.
For the
That's the
Dolphins to be
thing. That
that injured and then for it to almost be a pick 'em, like,
Oh, I was thought you were talking about the Chiefs getting respect because
no,
I
they're
still
at
think that the Chiefs
Arrowhead.
are getting too much respect though.
I think Arrowhead in the playoffs is one of the hardest places to play, and they've proven it over the past 5 years. And again, all the injuries to the Dolphins, the Chiefs are coming in as healthy as they've been over the past few weeks. And
But their healthiness hasn't really like shown that they can put up the same type of
I don't know
performances
what
like
the yeah, but
we're
I don't.
accustomed to.
I understand the Chiefs and the way that they closed out. They actually closed out decently, and it didn't look great. It looked very ugly in some of their wins, but they
hmm
closed out pretty decently. But like, what have the Dolphins done to gain that much respect? I can understand like the regular season and stuff like that. Okay, like now we're in the playoffs. This is where the Chiefs live and where they thrive. Forget we've had seasons where the Chiefs have gone like 11-5 or 11-6 with Patrick Mahomes, albeit it's not what we're used to, whether it be like the 13-4 or the 12-5 seasons that we expect for them. But I mean, this is the playoffs, and the Dolphins, I don't think, have done anything this season or in last year when it came to the playoffs to be like, okay, we garnered this respect, and they are the much more injured team. So I'm just very surprised that the line is basically on a neutral side. It would almost be a pick 'em, which is that's very surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, the last time that they played, yeah, sure, Kansas City got up quick, up 21 nothing, but then from then on, it was all Miami, and so I think that they know the type of offense that they need to run to slow down Mahomes, and that's just run the ball. Because that's like we talked about this before. If you have
Limit
an elite
possessions.
offense, exactly, you need to control the time of possession, and that's going to be your path to victory. Now, that being said, they arguably should have. I mean, at least it should have been a little bit closer than this because Tyreek Hill fumbled on um, on one of the drives that they had when they were going down the field. But again, at the same time, I just I just don't see the same Chiefs team that we've seen in years past. And like we keep on saying, like, oh, like Mahomes at home or Andy Reid with time to prepare, or all these things. And um, Like, this isn't the same Chiefs team, the same Chiefs offense that we've seen
Take
over
the
the past
Dolphins.
seasons.
Give you the
I
3.5.
might.
I'll
I
give you.
might.
I'll give you the 3.5.
I gotta see the injury report though. You
Oh
gotta like, dude. I mean,
God.
dude, if they're playing without like anybody out there, like if they don't have, because Tyreek Hill's he's banged up
That's what
and
I'm
Waddle's
saying.
banged up. If
Those are
they're
the
playing
expectations that
without
we
both,
have right now.
well,
That's
yeah.
the
But I'm
information that we
saying
have right now, and
if
they're still 3.5.
I want to go based on the information that we have right now.
What?
I think that this is built in. Like, I think that's already, like that they're expected to play. Like, they're questionable, but they're expected to play. So I think that they're already built into the fact that, okay, they're probably going to play.
Waddle
But
hasn't
if
even
that
practiced yet.
changes, well, okay, it's Monday.
No,
Like,
I'm saying no. I'm saying like
give the guy
over
a
the
break.
past, like obviously he didn't play last night, but like he hasn't practiced over the past like 2 weeks since his injury.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's fine. People come
Okay,
back from injury and
then
run it
take the
up.
three and a half.
I'm not taking no 3.5. Let's
We're
go.
not gonna have another episode before this weekend, so like I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm looking at it and yeah, like I talked about before. Whenever they give out that hook on a key number, that is something that I want to stay away from. And right now, 50-50 bet split, but 76% of the bets are 76% of the money is on the Chiefs. Ah, man, no, that's gross.
Yeah, 76% of the money's
But
on the Chiefs because it's only 3 points at Arrowhead in the playoffs.
dude, take the Chiefs.
I
Take the
am.
Chiefs, Alex.
I
You taking the
am.
Chiefs? All right.
Yes,
All right.
I'm taking the. I'm not waiting for if new information comes down, they're like, oh, Waddle's not going to play, and then it goes to like 5. Like I don't, or yeah, no, I don't. I'm
Well,
taking three and
yeah.
a half right now.
All right. Do you want to? I'm not doing.
That will be my call of. I'm taking the Chiefs.
I want to go against you so badly, but I cannot, because the Dolphins have failed all of the tests,
Yeah,
and
they're like the
also,
Lions of the. Who have they beaten? They are literally the Lions of the AFC. Well, I feel like the Lions are more the Dolphins of the AFC. But anyway, but like, who have the Dolphins beat?
nobody. Literally nobody. And also, it's Tua in a cold weather game too. So, and last time I checked,
Thanks for making
even
my
though
argument,
global
Drew. I
warming is
appreciate you.
even though global warming is rearing its ugly head, I don't think that we're going to see any dolphins in the Arctic anytime soon. So, I cannot, in good faith, take the Dolphins in this game. But I would lean towards the Dolphins, though. It's just gross. Is that all the games we have this weekend? Or we have
That
one more?
would be that would be all of the games. Obviously, the Ravens and 49ers have their buys. Do you have any potential teams that you feel like could maybe upset them if they were to meet in the divisional or in the conference? Or do you feel like it's boiling down to these predetermined, Super Bowl colors, purple and red,
I was gonna say
49ers and Ravens?
Yeah, I was about to say that. I think that I do think though that like, as scripted as this league is, it really is shaping out to be that way. If anything, maybe like, I'm not sure on the AFC side, because I don't think that the Browns are, like, the Browns defense is really good, but I'm not sure if Joe Flacco is going to be able to, keep up
Elite.
this kind of performance. Exactly. Um, Maybe the Bills can make some noise. Or I'm sorry, my Buffalo Bills Mafia, stand up. Maybe they can make some noise out there.
Y'all gonna have to beat the
I had
Chiefs.
the
Oh, wait, no, the Chiefs would have to go to the Bills. That's crazy.
come to my house.
Yep, y'all have a
um,
nice path to potentially make it to the AFC Championship as well.
yep. And then other than that, on the NFC side,
So do your
like,
Cowboys.
I mean, yeah, my Cowboys, but we know how well they do in big games. They never really show up. Even though, like, I did say that they would, go a little further this year, but I still,
You said
it's
that
a
they were going to be first conference championship since 1996, Drew.
fair. But yeah, other than that, I mean, just to recap the picks that we had in terms of the divisions that we picked this season. So I had the Saints winning the South, the Packers winning the North, the 49ers winning the West, the Cowboys winning the East, which they did. And then we had the had the
Only one
Bills.
got right. No, just like
Okay, wait. We had the Bills winning the East, the AFC East, and then we both had the Bengals winning the AFC North. And then when it came to the AFC West, we both had the Chiefs. So overall, not too bad on that. And then for your picks, you had the Saints as well, winning the NFC South. You had the Lions, and then the
yeah,
Seahawks. The Seahawks.
Lions. Yeah,
The
here we go.
Seahawks.
Here we go. Hey, at one point in time, midway through the season, we were winning, and then we do what we do best and
I mean,
lose these
when the
games.
season starts, technically everybody's in first place. So
no, I said midway through the season we were in first place
Yeah.
when the 49ers went like 0-3, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, I forgot, we're good. Let's do that."
Yep. Exactly. And then the Eagles. We saw how that went. And then we both had the Bills, and then like I said before, we both had the Bengals, which, yeah. Anyways, and then AFC West, we both had the Chiefs. So overall, not too shabby. Not too shabby at all.
Not too bad at all. Was very surprised about the Ravens and Browns and Steelers division. I think it was like kind of like the NFC East of last year. If you would have told me this season that all three of those teams were making the playoffs, I probably would have. And would have told me that Deshaun Watson wasn't going to play for the majority of the games and all that kind of stuff. And the Browns are still going to be an 11-win team. I would have laughed in your face.
Yep. Probably would have said I need to be drug tested.
That is the NFL. So lastly, the only thing that we do have is this Washington Husky championship that's going to be in about 10 hours. Did you have any final thoughts on that, or you want to maybe come over here? It is better over here. It is better over here. Or Drew just wants to be like, oh, I'm just going to take the favorite, the Big Ten champion, Harbaugh, all this stuff. Nah, underdog. Give me the Huskies. Go Dogs.
Oh. No, I think that
Does the spread change?
I mean, no, it stayed the same.
Still 3.5. Oh, it's 5.5.
It's 5. I'm looking at it as 5.
Oh, it was. Well, I mean, at one point in time when it first came out, it was like 3.5, 4.
Oh yeah, exactly. Which is even more of my argument here. Like it was at 5 or 4.5. It's been at 4.5 the pretty much the whole week, and then it moved to 5.5 just now, actually. So
exactly.
Give
me the 5.5.
I mean, no, you said 4.5 last week, so you getting 4.5. You already locked it in.
I said the line.
Sorry, sir.
Give me the line.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, right now 46% of the bets are on Michigan and 54% of the bets are on Washington. So it's come down a little bit on the Washington side in terms of public betting. However, it's a 50-50 bet split on the handle, which is the money. And that leads me to believe that even though there's only 46% of the money, or 46% of the bets on the Wolverines, there's 50% of the bets on the Wolverines as well, moving the line a half point. But if they have a lower amount of bets, then why is the line moving towards them, Mr. Harris? Why is that happening?
I'm asking you right now, if you would have known that the line was 5.5, would you have still taken Michigan?
I probably still would have. Especially if the bet splits were still the same as they were right now and the line was up at 5.5, I would still take that.
I mean, I think that Michigan, I don't know. The only thing that concerns me is Penix has been sacked the least amount of like any quarterback in college football. He's only been sacked 11 times all year. And if Michigan's able to get pressure on him, which they showed that they're able to get pressure on them, especially against Alabama and their mobile quarterback as it was, that is what scares me. And then if they're able to, take control of the game and then, kind of get their trench game going and Corum's just able to run all over us, and chew up clock and chew up time of possession, then that's what concerns me. Michigan, I feel like, for the most part, has the easiest path to victory if they're able to play good defense, get pressure on Penix, and then have a low-scoring game where they control the ball. Obviously, Washington is built to score and throw the ball over the field, so albeit even if they are down, Washington can always score, but that is the only thing that concerns me. But if you're not able to get pressure on Penix, hey, I mean, you know what happens, which is kind of crazy. I don't know how we can go from Penix being a late first rounder, potentially second rounder, and if he wins this game, ends up being like MVP or whatever, he likely could go like second or third overall behind Caleb Williams. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So I'm looking at Pro Football Focus and their ratings and grades right now. So it's kind of weird because Michigan has the number 4 ranked pass rush in the league, and then Washington also has the number 4 ranked pass protection. So it's pretty even there. However, when it comes to Washington and their tackling, they are. I can't even find them on here. Actually, let me just control find here real quick. Let's see, Washington.
Well, that's why we don't blow out teams.
Oh my god! Oh my god, Mr. Harris. They're 104th in tackling.
That's why we don't blow out teams. That's why we win all these low scoring or these close games, because we can't keep other teams from scoring. And that's the only thing too. Like Texas had a good pass rush as well. Obviously, Michigan is elite. They're one of the best in the nation, as you just said. But their secondary is much better than Texas's was. So that's it's going to be a good game. Looking forward.
Like I said before, I'm banking on the defensive prowess of Michigan and going in there and disrupting the dogs tonight. So
hey, also just saying, we don't need all them 5-star recruits and all that kind of stuff. You know, just give us some 3, give us some 4, give us Penix, you know, and we gonna turn these receivers into first rounders.
Just what about on defense? You might need a couple of 5-stars. You might need a couple of 5-star players on defense.
We got here. Well,
barely.
How?
You guys tried your best to lose last game.
Yeah, we felt bad. We knew a lot of people were watching. Okay. You know, gotta give them some. You gotta give them something to write home about.
24 points per game on defense.
2-0 versus Big Ten.
To a team that's only giving up 10 points per game.
How much you want to bet right now that we score more than 10 points?
Well, obviously they're gonna score more than 10 points. I'm just saying that, you know, in terms of defense, like, because they're on offense, they're pretty much equals. Like
no, they're not.
It's pretty close there.
No, they're not.
Alex.
Because Michigan ends up blowing out these teams, so that's what the numbers end up looking like that. But if you're gonna say who has the better offense right now, you're gonna tell me that Michigan has
visually.
Okay.
Visually, it looks really nice watching Washington play. I do enjoy watching Penix throw, because every throw that he makes, it's literally right in between the numbers, or it's like just out of reach of like a defender, and it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And I look in the mirror every day. And so when it comes to Washington, according to Pro Football Focus, they're ranked 3rd in the nation at a 93.3 offensive rating, compared to Michigan, who is 6th in the nation with a 90.2 rating. I mean, I'm no statistician, but out of 300 some odd teams that they have in college football, or actually I think it's like only like 100 something, and in basketball it's like 300 something. That doesn't matter. Moral of the story is they're basically even on offense, and then you look over on the defensive end and you see a glaring weakness on the Washington side.
Just saying, that was the same argument that people are making with Texas.
No,
which is why Texas. Yes, it was. Texas was favored by 5 over Washington, because they said that in the trenches that they would be better, their defenses would be better. We wouldn't be able to stop them when we needed to get stops. And what happened? They get the ball basically at the 10-yard line with a chance to win the game, down by 6. They get 4 tries at the end zone. No, sir.
I'm just saying, when it comes to coverage, do you know who's number 1 in the nation in coverage? Michigan. with a
That's
rating
why I told you that. I said
with a
that their
rating
secondary is
of
much better.
93.6 rating. And then you go and look at Texas over here, and I gotta scroll kind of
I
far down to
literally
find out where
already
they
told
are
you
here.
that. I
I'm
already
just saying. Well,
literally already said this.
you're saying it's the same argument that they were saying for Texas as it is for
I said in the trenches.
Michigan.
I didn't say
Okay,
coverage.
well, I'm talking about the secondary now. But
Okay.
in the secondary, Texas 62nd in the nation. And what is the main thing that Washington wants to do? They want to slang that thing around. And also, on top
You
of
know.
that though, too, they they might not have that much success on the ground in terms of the running game. Not only because of the Michigan, just stout defense that they have, but also because their number one running back is hurt.
Yeah.
So, like
I said that too.
I'm just saying.
They
Well,
might
I
have to
mean,
turn
you're over here
Penix
trying to
might
say that
have
they're
to
going to win.
be a more this season he has not been the most mobile. When he used to play back when he was in the Big Ten before he had all of his injuries, he was a very mobile quarterback and he was like a run first type quarterback. So he may need to be more mobile in this game, especially if he wants to, stay off the ground. But I just like the dogs. I'm just a homer pick and stuff like that. I can't just
Yeah,
root for my team. I'm just saying.
yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying. Like just limit your expectations.
So I've been realistic and been like, okay, I think this is the way that Michigan wins and all that kind of stuff. Like the way you talking doesn't sound like there is any possibility or any way that the Huskies can win this game.
Well, I'm not saying that. Like, obviously,
that's what you're inferring. That's what you've been inferring.
well, I mean, maybe
You know who ranks
the
number
one.
one in secondary in the league?
Yeah,
Michigan. You know who has like the
Michigan.
same
Damn
offensive
straight.
rating as Washington? Michigan. So like, what you? It sounds like you're
Huh?
saying a blowout. I'm just saying, you're like, oh yeah, if it
I'm
was
not
five and a
okay. That
half,
doesn't
if
equal.
I would have known it was 5.5, give it to me, all of it, all of it.
Doesn't equate to a blowout. Like, I'm just saying, is looking, the numbers are looking real nice on the Michigan side, and it's a public team, that being Washington, and I don't know. I'm just looking at them. I'm just looking at them, and
Again,
I
so
just see. I
in
like,
your eyes,
obviously,
how do the Huskies win the game? Then?
in my eyes, the Huskies win the game if Michael Penix is able to keep his ass off the ground, and also they're able to occasionally mix in some run game as well, because they can't only just throw, because they're not going to be able to have all that much success in this game doing that against this Michigan defense. So I think that being able to mix up the pass and the run, and Penix has to play a damn near perfect game. If you're able to keep Penix off the ground and give him time to throw, Adunze is going to have probably a big game if he's able to stay upright. Because I mean, even if he's,
if he doesn't
I'm
die,
just saying, like, pretty much, like, yeah, like if he is able to stay upright, like, he's obviously one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think last week I had a Freudian slip. I thought he was the Heisman Trophy winner, but I
should have
mean,
been.
because he should have been yeah, exactly. And I mean, you watch all the other quarterbacks in the league, or in the nation, and they don't I don't know. He just looks different. Like,
Have you seen
he's
like his throwing motion like inverted? So like as if he's like a right-handed thrower, it does not look nearly as good as when he's left-handed. He throws like Lamar Jackson, kind of just one of those like little
just short arms
but
it.
it looks really good from from left hand. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's all that
But
matters.
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, like, I do think that the only way that they're able to get the job done is if they're keeping Penix clean, because I don't think that their run game is going to be able to do enough to
Agreed.
make up for any of that. So
And Michigan has an elite run game.
mhm, exactly. So
Fair enough. That's all I got.
that is all I got for you as well. So just a recap on how we did in with our picks overall this season. If I can get there with these clicks, and Wi-Fi is a little slow today,
Oh
running
boy.
all these models and stuff. It's trying to
Yeah.
see how Michigan is going to dominate the dojo tonight. Anyways, looking at our picks that we've had, so in terms of overall, we were able to go 129 and 93 and 6 pushes, hate the push, and with an ROI of 7.12%, which is giving us 16.15 units overall. So if you just go based on sides and totals, we were 89 and 59 with 5 pushes, 9.21% overall with the ROI. And I mean,
Doesn't
not a
sound
financial
bankrupt to
advisor,
me.
but I was like, I'm no financial advisor, but I think that's a little bit more than what you're getting putting in the stock market. But not advising that you do that. Instead of putting your money in retirement, you should always put your money in retirement. Again, not a financial advisor. But moving
Drew
on,
said, "What's a pension? I
and
don't know what that is."
uh, but then looking at how we did with props, we don't really talk about Bruno.
The reason that we haven't done props since midway through the season.
Yep, exactly. When it came to props, we were 23 and 30. We lost 9 units by doing props. So I don't think that we will be doing those going forward, but we might, here and there, might dabble on a couple of them, just for S's and G's, as the kids say nowadays. But yeah, overall, I think that 57% solid year, and going forward, I'm not sure if we didn't really talk about this, if we want to do like props or picks in the NBA or anything like that, but
Wouldn't be opposed.
yeah. So, but yeah, right now, so hopefully we can keep up the momentum that we have going into the postseason, and
Stay
hope
away
to
from the
see.
Cowboys.
Okay. How about them Cowboys? Anyways, yeah. Anything else you wanna bring up?
No, that's pretty
Michigan's gonna
much.
win tonight?
Nope. That's pretty much it. Sounds like that for the foreseeable future, we are going to be filming a little bit earlier in the week, which does kind of end up working out since the playoffs are going to be predominantly strictly on the weekends, not going to really have any of the Monday night, Thursday night games anymore. So that's kind of what the schedule is looking like for us. But other than that, we appreciate y'all for listening. It's been a fun NFL season, and now we're looking forward to these playoffs, and then we will touch on the NBA. Didn't really have much to talk about this week, as it's only been a few days since our last episode, other than Draymond Green contemplating retirement. But supposedly he is coming back. So other than that, this has been the College Shop Podcast with your hosts, Alex Harris and Drew Moore. Appreciate y'all watching. Anybody watching on YouTube, anybody listening through podcasts, make sure to check out our Instagrams. That also has the link to our picks and to our YouTube as well. Anything, Drew?
No, that's pretty much everything. I'm looking forward to see a Michigan W tonight, which
God.
Ironically, Washington is the Dubs, but Michigan's gonna get the job done.
Okay.
Wolverines never die. I mean, you've seen X-Men. Have you seen Wolverine never die? You've seen Logan. You've seen that man die.
They've died a lot because they haven't won a championship since like before I was born. So. Just saying, we're not expecting. We're coming out of the Pac-12. We're not expect. We're so good that y'all had to put us in your division because you're like, wow, you guys can't be in the Pac-12 anymore. Come over here. So we just gonna come over here. Y'all ain't gonna have no more undefeated seasons no more. I'm telling you that.
Oh please.
So
well, if this is the last one that we have, we'll make it a good one. Go Wolverines. That is all.
Huskies. Peace.